Hello and welcome to my GSX-R750. Those of you that have watched previous videos know that has been restored after being crash damaged at Brands, and it's finally finished. All new panels, all new bits and bobs, which I'll go into, and crucially I'll let you know how much all of this cost at the end of the video. But what I've got now is the GSX-R750 I've always pined for. It's the right colour, it's the right mileage, it's in the right condition, it's absolutely mint, and I think it was really worth buying a crash damaged bike just so I could get the bike I wanted. I did look at other GSX-Rs along the way. There were some quite good ones, quite low mileage ones, quite expensive, but even those had signs of wear and tear, like they'd been out in the rain, they were kind of furred up, some were worse than others. And I thought that even though this was in pretty bad condition, the fact it hadn't really seen much rain and most of its miles were dry, I thought it's well worth giving it a go. So as you would have seen in previous videos, this was crashed at Brands Hatch about 6 years ago at Druids. It was taken apart, but because life got in the way of previous owner Carl Turner, it was never put back together again. And when I was looking at it, or looking for one earlier in the year, I got in touch and he reluctantly sold it to me. There wasn't too much damage. I mean, this isn't like a ground up restoration. You know, it wasn't completely knackered when I bought it. It basically had a low side at Brands Hatch, probably 50, 60 miles an hour. So all the right side was damaged, all the bodywork, all the exhaust, all the levers, all the sticky out bits. It didn't flip, luckily. So it was a relatively simple operation to put it all back together. Not that I did it myself, of course. My friend Bob Stockley, who you've seen on many of my previous videos, including my racing videos, was very kind enough to volunteer to do all the work for me. He's got a lovely workshop, he's got all the tools, he's got a bench and everything, and I think now we're not racing together, he misses tinkering with race bikes, so I was very happy to let him do the job. All the bits were pretty easy to come by to replace all the damaged bits and bobs, but the hardest thing is the bodywork. So because most manufacturers, including Suzuki, change their colours every year, trying to find a 2014 set of good bodywork second hand was really difficult. There was none in all the usual places you'd look online. I was considering getting all the old stuff repaired and resprayed, but then I thought, you know, I want this bike to be absolutely mint, so I bit the bullet and went to Suzuki Direct and got all these new panels from Suzuki Genuine Parts. And one of the main things for me is that I wanted to keep the bike as standard looking as possible, with just sort of well chosen modifications. So even down to the footrest, I didn't want rear sets, I didn't want any fancy levers, I just wanted everything as standard looking as possible, but then over time just choose some performance upgrades that would give it a little bit more feel in the corners, a little bit more acceleration, but not look like a hot rod. So let's get down to how much all this cost. So the bike I bought for £5,000, which I thought was quite a lot at the time, but like I say, I was willing to take the risk because it was such low mileage. We discovered that it had only done about 3,800 miles, so not a bad place to start, and I was happy to pay that. So let's break this up into kind of service items, things it needed, replacement parts to make it look pretty again, and then the upgrades. So Bob serviced the bike straight off the bat before we got it running. Oil filter, air filter and iridium plugs. That little lot come to £121.41. So far so good. Right, now the parts to make it look nice. So we got a Yoshi exhaust can, this lovely GP exhaust can off of eBay, £475. Rear brake pedal, £96.40, so that's genuine Suzuki stuff. The footrests, £846.15, which is a lot. You can get proper rear sets a lot cheaper, but again I wanted it to look standard. Bar ends, they're standard as well. 5388. I got myself a carbon fibre front mudguard just for looks. Doesn't really make any difference to performance. It's a little bit lighter. That was just off a retailer, off of eBay. That's 82.62, but it looks really, really nice. Then we get to the real pricey stuff. So all the top fairing and nose cone was £1,243.65. The belly pans were £716.04. The side fairings were £1,154.84, and the frame covers £141.84. So again, you know, the difference between me loving this bike and not was really getting this looking showroom again, and it really does. And then we've got the upgrade. So Renthal front sprocket, down a tooth, £26.90. Double bubble screen, a pooch one from Pyramid Plastics, which is much better for tall riders, £80.98. GB Racing engine protectors, £211.75. GB Racing radiator guard, £85.99. Evotech brake protector for track days. That was off my old BMW race bike, so that didn't cost anything. Bob also put on side valves for the wheels, make it easier to check tyre pressures and pump them up, which has proved really useful already for the track days I've done. So thanks for that, Bob. And wheel spacers, captive wheel spacers. I haven't taken the wheels out yet, but that'll be handy. Bob hasn't charged me for those yet, so we'll keep that off the list. SBS track day pads, £61.99. They're really good compromise between road performance and track performance. If I was just riding this on track, I'd probably get proper race pads, but they don't last very long, so it's a good compromise. They're £61.99. Hell brake lines, steel braided, £103.12. And a lithium battery just to keep the weight down, £135.50. So that little lot comes to £706.23. So the grand total that was spent on this motorcycle is £10,638.06. It's quite a lot, isn't it? That doesn't even include Bob's time. So, you know, that's a good couple of £1,000 more than I planned to pay. But like I say, I've got exactly the bike I want in absolutely perfect condition. And it is absolutely brilliant. I've ridden it at Cadwell at Suzuki Live on the track day, which is brilliant. I've already done a track day or track evening at Donington, fantastic, and also a nice little bit of B-road riding in the evenings, and I absolutely love it. Now, I know I bang on about the GSX-R750 a lot, and I'm not completely blinkered. If I was to put my road tester's hat on for a minute and be critical, I would say that as an everyday road bike, I prefer super naked still. I think I've really grown out of living with a race rep day to day, because I find them quite uncomfortable now, particularly they're wristy. I mean, it's not too uncomfortable really, especially with the pegs on their low position. It's not too bad, but you know, riding super nakeds for so many years when you can have all your performance in a nice, easy to ride package, I do prefer super nakeds now. I can't believe I used to tour Europe on a GSX-R750. I've been to the Nürburgring, Sardinia, Ibiza, Spain, all over the shop, Italy. You can definitely do a lot more when you're younger, but for evening rides and track days, it's absolutely perfect. It's just what I wanted it for. There are a few issues to resolve with this before it's absolutely perfect. There's quite poor running at low revs and low throttle openings. It actually gurgles. It actually sounds like it's dropping cylinders. And at Donington on the slow corners, it actually felt like it had traction control. It's probably doing the same job as traction control, which is kind of good in a way. But this needs to go on a dyno to be sorted out. I'd like a little bit better braking performance, whether that's down to putting racing discs on, maybe putting racier pads in. The brakes do fade quite a lot, which I was quite surprised about at Donington, and you need a lot of brake pressure to stop it. and like I've said before, better suspension. This suspension's good, but a racing suspension will just give you a bit of a plusher feel, a wider range of adjustment, and the option to put the springs in for your weight. Also on track, even though I've down geared this bike, it could go with being even lower geared, because say for example at Donington it was quite boggy coming out some of the corners. But I think I will leave the gear standard because, you know, this is predominantly a road bike. So over 10 grand for this bike is a lot of money in anyone's book, but in some ways it isn't that much when you look at the alternatives. So any new sports bike, like proper sports bike with teeth, worth its salt, is a lot more than this bike. If you wanted this kind of performance in a modern bike, you're probably looking at a Panigale V2. It's a lot more expensive than this. Then you've got super bikes, yeah, which are well over 20 grand. Or if you wanted to spend less than 10 grand, you can go for the modern brace of middleweight sports bikes, parallel twins, which really do not hold a candle to this in terms of performance and fun. So yeah, it is a lot of money, but the GSX-R is the perfect sports bike for me. So what's next for the GSX-R? Well, I'm gonna take it down an airstrip to see how fast it goes. I'm going to do a couple more track days, just kind of enjoy the rest of the summer on it. Like I say, in the future, I'd like to look at the suspension, the brakes, and also maybe give it a bit of a decat just to make it lighter, release a little bit more power. But what I don't want is to make it louder, because I quite like quiet bikes, again, in my old age. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for sticking with me for this journey. If anyone wants to buy some old panels, let me know. But yes, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more like this coming very soon.